Israel, reportedly armed with an estimated 90 to 300 nuclear warheads, has never signed the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, never declared its arsenal, and faces no inspections, no sanctions, no scrutiny. The world looks away. Iran, by contrast, is vilified, sanctioned, even surveilled. For weapons, it is yet to build. The difference: one is a US ally, the other a regional challenger. In a world of selective outrage, why is only Iran told to disarm? Is it only an existential threat for Israel, or is it for Iran as well? That is what we are going to explore. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Israel's nuclear monopoly rests on silence and Western complicity. While Tehran's facilities are pored over by inspectors and its enrichment levels debated in global forums. Dimona, the heart of Israel's secret arsenal, according to many reports, operates without oversight. American officials won't even say the word Israel when discussing nuclear proliferation. Washington turns a blind eye because Israel is their ally. But this imbalance has consequences. How long can the US demand Iranian compliance while protecting Israeli opacity? How long before Iran demands deterrence on equal terms? Israel's nuclear weapons program is not a conspiracy theory. It's a confirmed, if undeclared, reality. As far back as the 1980s, British intelligence believed Israel had produced enough plutonium for 20 nuclear warheads. The core of this program is the Dimona reactor in Israel's Negev desert, a facility built secretly in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, initiated this program under a secretive French-Israeli agreement aiming to produce weapons-grade plutonium essential for nuclear arms. Despite decades of diplomatic denials and strict secrecy, evidence from whistleblowers, declassified documents, and intelligence estimates have repeatedly confirmed the existence and scope of Israel's nuclear arsenal. The most famous revelation came from Mordechai Vanunu, a former technician at Dimona, who in 1986 provided detailed photographs and descriptions exposing Israel's nuclear program to the world. Vanunu's disclosures were groundbreaking. His photos and testimony revealed that Israel had produced enough plutonium for between 100 and 200 nuclear weapons by the mid-1980s. These revelations confirm suspicions that Israel's nuclear capabilities were far more extensive than the global community had officially acknowledged. However, Vanunu paid a steep price. After his revelations, Mossad agents abducted him from Italy, bringing him back to Israel for secret trial and imprisonment on charges of espionage and treason. Despite international calls for his freedom and recognition as a whistleblower, Israel treats him as a traitor, imposing strict restrictions on his speech and movements even after his release. Vanunu's case symbolizes Israel's commitment to nuclear ambiguity, a strategy designed to deter enemies while avoiding international scrutiny and pressure to disarm.
My name is Mordechai Vanunu, a man who served 18 years in Israel prison for revealing Israeli nuclear weapons secrets in 1986 to the Sunday Times of London, and was kidnapped by Israel Mossad spy from Rome and brought by a boat ship to Israel and served in Israel prison for 18 years. And I worked in that place and I knew a lot about what they are doing there. I concluded that they producing too much atomic bomb beyond any imagination of all the world's spy organizations, including the CIA. At that time, in 1986, they presumed that Israel have about 5 to 10 atomic bombs. And my conclusion from my production is they are producing about 10 atomic bombs every year. And they have around 200 atomic bombs. I thought it's too much beyond anyone realizing. Also, I find out they are producing hydrogen bomb, very powerful atomic bomb that have no justification for the Israelis. It's not for defense. It's too much, and I decided the world must know. And also I was thinking this is the way to prevent any new use of atomic bomb. And also I believed by publishing Israel nuclear weapons secrets, the world will see Israel have a lot of power, very powerful, and they can demand from them to make peace and to give to the Palestinians the right and end the occupation and the refugee camp, bring peace to the Middle East. Israel is very, very powerful. No one can defeat them by all this. My theory is simple. When they succeed to produce them and they invest a lot of money, then to continue to produce, it's very cheap. When you succeed to produce the first 10 atomic bomb, the next is very, very cheap. And then if it's very cheap, they succeed. They want to produce much more. And it was also the mind of the Cold War. They was following United States at that time. When the Cold War was exist, United States have 50,000 atomic bombs. Israelis also believe they will need to have many, many. But the main reason it's very cheap, and also maybe they was thinking about to use them against anyone in the Middle East. So I think it was a proof of craziness from the Israeli side, and that craziness I want to expose and to let the world the madness of this nuclear proliferation in the Middle East, also in the older world.
According to credible estimates, such as those from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, that's SIPRI, Israel currently holds about 90 nuclear warheads, though some speculate the number could be as high as 300. These weapons are not only stockpiled but actively integrated into a sophisticated nuclear triad of delivery systems. Land-based. Jericho ballistic missiles ranging from Jericho 2 to the more advanced Jericho 3 with a range of up to 4,000 kilometers. Then there is air-based. Nuclear-capable fighter aircraft including F-16 and F-15 jets with approximately 30 warheads assigned to them. Sea-based. Dolphin-class submarines thought to carry nuclear-armed missiles for second strike capability supplied by Germany, though officially denied as nuclear-armed. Despite these clear indicators, Israel refuses to publicly acknowledge this arsenal, instead relying on a policy of deliberate ambiguity to deter threats without provoking diplomatic backlash. Both the United States and the United Kingdom have long been aware of Israel's nuclear arsenal. Declassified UK documents reveal British officials knew as early as the 1980s that Israel had enough plutonium for around 20 warheads. Yet, both countries have chosen to maintain silence. Why? Because publicly confirming Israel's nuclear weapons could destabilize the global nuclear non-proliferation regime, damage diplomatic relations in West Asia, and trigger a regional arms race, particularly when it comes to justifying why the US is stopping Iran. Instead, the US enforces a secret policy known as DOE Classification Bulletin WPN 136, barring officials from publicly discussing Israel's nuclear weapons. This secrecy creates a glaring double standard. While Israel's arsenal is ignored, Iran faces intense scrutiny, sanctions, and international pressure for its nuclear activities, even though Iran currently has no confirmed nuclear weapons. Unlike Israel, Iran is widely considered a nuclear threshold state. It has developed the technology and infrastructure needed to produce nuclear weapons rapidly, but has not made the political decision to build one. Iran's government claims its nuclear program is civilian, but its uranium enrichment activities paint a different picture.
The problem is that in the past, and even today, Iran has not been as forthcoming as they should be. Iran has on occasion not given the necessary answers to our inspectors. And why I say this? Because we happened to find traces of nuclear activity, in this case uranium, we were talking about just now, in places that were not supposed to be hosting any nuclear activity. So what we have been struggling in our conversation with our Iranian counterparts is to find out, if I found this here, where is this material? Where is the equipment that was being used to process this material. And so we have been in a sort of a circular dialogue against the backdrop of something that you also mentioned, which is the fact that Iran is enriching uranium at a very high level, 60% of a certain isotope of the uranium, which is very close to the level that you need for a nuclear device, for a weapon, for a bomb. Does that mean they have a nuclear weapon? No, but it is not irrelevant. It means that they are amassing high amounts, very, very important amounts of material at a level which is not normally used for civilian or peaceful purposes. So there is an element of ambiguity somewhere. And this is what we are trying to find out. And this is what we are trying to clarify. And this has different levels, of course. There is the possibility of a dialogue between the United States and Iran. There is the former, you remember that there used to be an agreement called the JCPOA, where Iran had agreed on a number of things with the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, plus Germany that were there. And this agreement was sort of set aside. So that agreement today, people still talk about it, but in reality, it's not been followed.
But set aside by one country.
Initially, yes. And then Iran followed. So, and what we have now is this situation where there are no limits in what Iran is doing. So what we are trying is to help them clarify all these things so they can continue. You rightly framed this against the backdrop of a Middle East, which is in a very particularly volatile phase of its traditionally difficult reality that we have been witnessing for more than half a century, maybe. So this is a recipe for something very, very, very dangerous.
Iran enriches uranium up to 60% purity below weapons grade, but much higher than civilian needs. With current stockpiles and centrifuge technology, Iran could theoretically enrich enough uranium for several nuclear warheads in a matter of weeks. However, Iran has not weaponized its nuclear program yet. It would need to convert enriched uranium into weapon components and build deliverable nuclear devices, a complex but feasible technical step. Iran's nuclear ambitions cannot be understood without considering Israel's secret nuclear arsenal. Iran views Israel's nuclear weapons as a direct existential threat. Israel's undeclared arsenal, combined with its history of military actions and proxy conflicts, compels Iran to consider nuclear weapons as a necessary deterrent. Iran's missile attacks targeting Israel's Dimona nuclear facility underscore the significance of this dynamic. On the 1st of October 2023, Iran launched around 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, some reportedly aimed at Dimona. Although Israel's Iron Dome and US support neutralized the threat, Iran's willingness to strike Israel's nuclear heartland sends a clear message. It views Israel's nuclear weapons as central to regional power balance. Dimona is not just a nuclear reactor. It is the symbol of Israel's nuclear strength and strategic ambiguity. Built under a cloak of secrecy beginning in 1958, it was only officially identified as a nuclear site by US intelligence in 1960. The US government was misled by Israel's sophisticated deception campaign, which masked Dimona as a civilian research facility. By the mid-1960s, however, Israel had secretly produced weapons-grade plutonium and assembled its first nuclear weapons. This clandestine development was facilitated by the complicity of allies who chose silence over confrontation. Today, Dimona remains the heart of Israel's nuclear program, with ongoing modernization efforts. It is a primary target for Iran, which has simulated strikes against the facility in military drills and threatens retaliation if Israel attacks Iranian nuclear sites. Israel's nuclear ambiguity aims to deter existential threats without openly provoking regional proliferation. However, this strategy fuels insecurity for Iran and its allies, driving Tehran closer to nuclear weaponization. Iran's potential nuclear weapons would serve as a deterrent against Israeli military coercion and attacks, leveling the playing field in a region where Israel holds a clear nuclear advantage. Without nuclear weapons, Iran remains vulnerable to Israel's undeclared but undeniable nuclear threat. The international community's reaction reveals stark double standards. Israel's nuclear arsenal remains outside the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that is NPT, and is officially unacknowledged, yet tacitly accepted. Iran, on the other hand, faces severe sanctions and diplomatic isolation for enriching uranium and advancing a nuclear program that remains technically civilian. The US and its allies justify these measures by portraying Iran as a destabilizing actor seeking weapons of mass destruction, while Israel is framed as a strategic ally with a right to self-defense. This inconsistency undermines global non-proliferation efforts and inflames regional tensions.
پاسخ این درخواست‌های غیر منطقی رو دادیم قبلا. تکرار یک موضع غیر واقعی، غیر منطقی، غیر معقول هیچ کمکی به تثبیت اون موضع نمی‌کنه. هر چقدر هم که مقامات آمریکایی تکرار بکنن، فرقی در اصل قضیه ایجاد نخواهد کرد. موضع ما کاملا روشنه. من به صراحت قبلا گفتم، تکرار می‌کنم که غنیسازی در ایران ادامه پیدا خواهد کرد با توافق یا بی توافق. منطق مذاکره از نظر ما این هست: شفاف سازی، اعتماد سازی از جانب ما، رفع تهدیدها، تحریم‌ها از جانب اونها و البته رفع تهدیدها. بیشتر از اون اگر تقاضاهایی داشته باشن، اگه بخوام وارد حوزه فعالیت صلح‌آمیز هسته ما بشن، ما رو از مواردی که حقمون هست به عنوان کشور عضو NPT محروم میکنن، این طبیعی هست که هیچ جایی برای پذیرش نداره و به هیچ وجه ما اجازه نمیدیم که اتفاق بیفته. در مذاکرات هم حالا مشغول بررسی هستیم که دور بعدی رو شرکت بکنیم یا چه زمانی شرکت بکنیم. ما هیچ وقت دیپلماسی رو کنار نگذاشتیم. ما در مذاکره همیشه حضور خواهیم داشت. فلسفه اصلی حضورمون هم دفاع از حقوق مردم ایران هست.
Given Israel's undisputed nuclear capability and refusal to join the NPT, Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons emerges as a logical response to a profound security threat. Iran's leadership must weigh the risks of continued vulnerability against the deterrence value of a nuclear arsenal. Without nuclear weapons, Iran remains exposed to Israel's superior military power and covert operations. Nuclear weapons would provide Tehran with a credible deterrent, potentially stabilizing a volatile region by preventing unilateral Israeli dominance. Israel's secret nuclear arsenal has long shaped West Asia's geopolitics. Its policy of nuclear opacity and the silence of Western allies create an unbalanced landscape. Iran's nuclear threshold status and enrichment activities reflect an attempt to redress this imbalance, spurred by existential fears. To understand the ongoing nuclear tensions in West Asia, the world must confront this uncomfortable reality. Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons is not reckless ambition, but a strategic imperative driven by Israel's undeclared nuclear monopoly and the double standards of global powers. Will the international community recognize this dynamic and reconsider its approach to West Asian nuclear issues? Or will it continue to demand Iranian disarmament while ignoring Israel's nuclear shadow? Thank you for watching Statecraft.